Welcome back to What Arty Noobs for General Disturbance. This is a Type 62. It's a Tier 7 Chinese premium light tank. It's located on the south spawn of Murovanka and it's under the command of Mr. Lan.
Let's go.
Well, as usual, Wargaming let us down on the program because we're not getting any engine noise at all, but we are getting all the sound effects. So I suppose we'll just have to have another game which is slightly incomplete. I'm not the only one who's experienced this. Other content creators are also noticing that this is happening. Well, Type 62, what can I say? It's basically a Type 59 clone. The Type 59 has a 100mm gun. Unfortunately, this little light tank only has an 85mm gun, but it does have 180 alpha. Reload time by the book of 5.27 seconds. But we can see here, Mr. Land's got it down to 4.13. Now, the book says that the Type 62 is not quite as good as the other light tanks at this tier. There are better ones, and yeah, I could think of a few straight off the bat. Okay, got his first shot in on that Skoda, who picked the wrong spot to go to. That corner is very good for spotting people in the field as well, but you can get spotted in return by a light tank, and it's frequently the light tanks who come up here, and we've got one coming towards us. Oh, it's the AMX 1375. He's put 2 rounds into us with his autoloader. And, oh, look at that. 464 hit points of damage. Yeah, that hurt. That cost us 4 rounds. Every round hit the target. Although he did get low rolls on 2 of them. That's cost us half of our hit points, that guy. Kind of an ambush. And, yeah, the AMX 1375 is one of the tanks I would have put above this one. Tries to go for the Hellcat. Doesn't get it. Which is surprising. Yeah, he does get a critical hit on the tracks, but not actually penetrating the body as such. Now, this gun is normally fairly accurate. It's got decent penetration, decent damage, fairly good rate of fire. But surprising when you don't get an accurate shot at long range like that. This thing actually does shoot very well on the move. After all, it is a light tank, a scout tank. The thing is about this one is it's, well, as I said, it's not as good as the other light tanks in the same tier, but it is, I suppose you could say, acceptable because it's a premium, and he's positioned himself very well there to keep the bush between him and the enemy. Okay, there's that little ambush assassin. The AMX 1375's moved over to the other side of the map now to try and spot our heavies over there. Yeah, he's looking to try and get some revenge, Mr. Lan. The thing about this little tank, and they made 1,393 of them, it is basically a lighter version of the Type 59. But of course, the Type 59's got a much better reputation in the game because, of course, it can do so much damage. And you will see Type 59s getting Paul's medals and the like. In fact, I think I've done a few. Oh, spotted by the Lanson. Got too close. But you don't see any Paul's medals for Type 62s. I can see why in many ways. It's not exactly the tank that you would expect to do a Paul's medal. Unless, of course, it's in the right hands. Oh, he's got that Skoda again. Pumps another round in. Gets a high roll. 183. The Lanson's there as well. Looks like he joined his colleagues. Oh, he actually killed the Skoda with a blind shot. He got the first kill. Not even realising, well, he did fire at the Skoda beforehand, but he must have just been obscuring and he couldn't actually see him. But he pumped the round in and he got it. Try to put one into that 1375, who's still plaguing our guys. Oh, he got one! He actually managed to get a shell into him. One of the reasons why this tank isn't so good at long range, it could be the fact that its shell velocity isn't that great. It's only 793 meters per second, and so it's a bit sluggish, and you have to lead shots, and he did lead that 1375 at distance and got a nice round into him. He's been proximity spotted by the T25, but Arty's helping out. Oh, he bounced around from the P43 Biz. Mind you, it's only 75mm round, not the 90mm. Could have been a lot worse if it was the 90mm. Now, one of the reasons why this tank is not so great is the hull armor. It's not very thick. It's only 35mm at the front, 20 at the sides and rear. And the turret, well, it's only got 45mm at the front of the turret, 30 at the sides and 20 at the rear. So basically, there's almost no armor on this thing. And that's one of the reasons why it's very light. And the reason the Chinese actually built this tank was because they couldn't use the Type 59 in the mountainous regions in the southern area of China, or they couldn't cross the bridges down there because the bridges weren't they weren't strong. Low roll into the Oni. So they needed a tank that was light enough that could go over these tiny little bridges without crushing them. And the Type 62 was light enough to actually do the job. It's only 24 tons in weight, fully loaded. So it's actually a very light tank in many ways. Oh, good, he got him at last. That's really nice. That's a satisfying kill, the second kill he's got. So the Chinese actually have sold this tank, and they are still in operation in some countries around the world because it's a fairly robust design. It is basically a T-54 clone. I think you could say that about many tanks around the world. They were originally designed to be similar to the Type 59, the T-54 rather. And you can see in design it's so similar also to the Type 59. It's got that gap between the front road wheel and the other road wheels. So, yes, it does look very much like the T-54. It's also fairly prone to getting fuel fires and ammo racks because it's got a massive fuel tank up front. And as you know, fuel can be used as armor under certain circumstances. And, well, the ammo racks all around the place. It's got multiple ammo racks, which is why sometimes it does suffer from hits. And, oh, that T-25's looking at us. He's looking for us. Couldn't see us, so he's turned to face somebody else, and now he's been out the game. The Lancer's now a threat, but he's driving straight over to the west. Oh, that was a good shot. You see how he led that shot, but the Lanson's now paying attention to us because, of course, we're hitting him hard, or Lan is, and he's reached the M12. Ram killed him after putting one shot into him, and he's going for the Lorraine as well to get his Pascucci's, and I don't think there's anything we can do, and he does get the kill, and that leaves us as the only one left alive on the team. Yeah, so Mr. Land's got a lot to do now, with only half his hit points. But the good news is that he does have 22 rounds of heat to play with, premium ammo. So every shot he fires is going to make somebody's day a misery. The standard penetration is 145 mils, but with, if I can get the cursor to play with me, it doesn't appear to be working at the moment. That's better. It is working now. He's actually got a scout medal now because he just discovered his night tank in the FV207. If I get the cursor to work, you can see, yeah, it's the penetration on the heat rounds is 220mm, so quite a lot more pen. Oh, he's found the M12. Well, he's now getting hit by heat rounds. One more to kill, and he gets him. So, 4 kills now. He's just discovered the 207 so he can get a Pascucci's. He hits him in the tracks at the front. 207's weaving to try and throw off the shells. He took that one. He is a one-shot, but we've lost sight of him, so we're going to have to disengage, especially as it appears the enemy is not capping. They're no cap kill all. And Mr. Land's doing his best to stay active and keep moving so that the enemy can't get at him. Now, at the moment, the enemy's got that Lancer C. He's fairly low on hit points. The FV207's a one-shot. The KV2 and the P43 Biz. Well, we know the P43 Biz has got the 75mm gun because he hit us with one shell in the rear and it didn't pen. So the 75mm gun puts them at a bit of a disadvantage. I suppose the big problem is the KV2, and he was on this side of the map, but a bit behind the P43. And of course, he might have, well, either the 107mm gun, or he's going to have the 152mm howitzer, the derp gun, which wouldn't exactly end our game straight away if he hit us. Not necessarily, now that HE has been effectively neutered. Oh, it is him in the cap. Okay, he probably thinks he doesn't have to move for anyone. Uses the bush mechanic, hits the top of the turret but doesn't go in. He's trying to get the weak spot just over the top of the gun, but he's going to have to hit the lower one if he probably wants to get through. Remember, it is the heat round though. Has got more than enough pen to go through. He has to waste one round on that building. Doesn't want to, but he has to. So now he's down to 14 rounds to kill 4 enemies. But he should be able to get some of them with just one shot. He's got the KV2 down to a 2 shot. He's immediately dived for cover. You notice that, realised the trouble he was in. He's only a tier 6. He's up against the tier 7. There's the P43 trying to see us. But of course, we've seen him first. Using the bush mechanic. Oh, he goes down with one shot. So that's one of them out the way. Or say 2 of them out the way, because he's actually, after he was 5 against 1, and now it's 3 against 1. Okay, yes, the FV207 still trying to lob shells in our direction. There is the KV2 again from a different angle, but do we hit him or hit the Lanson? The Lanson's hunting. We need 2 shots to kill the Lanson. He's going to get 1 shot into us, and that could be very problematical. He does hit us, but this is a kill shot. Yes! That's the big problem tank out the way. Yeah, he's down to 108. Ooh, FV207 was accurate. He tried to guess where we were, just off a little, but that's because Mr. Lamb was trying to fool him, and it worked. Now he's just trying to get close enough to see the KV2. He's using his mini-map as well. You can see where the range rings are, and he spotted us. He spotted him, rather. Now it's a 2 shot to kill him, not a 1 shot. I was wrong about that. Oh, maybe 3 shots, actually. Oh, yes, he got that one. And now he's a 1 shot. And he gets a kill, a blind kill. And that means now there's only 1 left. It's the FV207. We know he's a 1 shot because he took 1 round from us when we were next to the Magic Forest. So he's only got to find the FV207 now. And remember, he's a light tank, so he's got a much longer view range. He's got a 390-meter view range. The FV207 doesn't. He's kind of handicapped in that sense, only about 250 meters, so he's more than likely going to spot the FV207. It's not always that way, but if the FV207 is smart, he'll hide in a bush and try and ambush Mr. Lamb, because he can take him out with 1 shot. Oh, he's in the process of hiding. Oh, he doesn't get him with 1 shot, but he will get him with the next one. And the FV207 knows it's only a matter of time now, because now that he knows where he is, Mr. Lamb will try to find the right spot. He had his Top Gun. He's now looking to get a Radley's if he can win this one. It won't just be a Radley's, though. It will be a Kolobanov, because he did face 5. He's making a flanking move to come up around the FV207 from a different angle. And he's found him. There we go. Just take it. Oh, he's trying to get a... Is he trying to get a Fadens? He is. Oh my God, he's actually given away his position to the FV207 by doing that. He's down to just 2 rounds. He pumps one into the ground. This is his last round to win the game. Getting close. Oh! That's a Radley's, a Fadens, and a Kolobanov for Mr. Land in the Type 62. Well, we don't often get games where you get that many medals in one, and look at this one. It's an ace tanker for Mr. Land in the Type 62. Well, what would you expect with that amount of business? He actually pulled the rabbit out of the hat and won for his team, even though he was outnumbered. He got a spotter badge for spotting at least 1,000 hit points of damage, a fire for effect for doing more damage than the hit points to his own vehicle, a bruise the medal for getting at least 5 critical hits. In fact, he got 13. He got a duelist for taking down 2 tanks who damaged him during that game, which of course you could say was the AMX 1375 and that Lanson C, although Lanson had a very good go at trying to take him out towards the end of the game. But here we go, we've got all the epic medals as well. We got a Faden's medal for killing the last enemy with the last round of ammunition in his magazine. He got a Kolobanov for standing alone against 5 enemy tanks and defeating them all by killing them, not by just capping and winning. He also got a Pascucci's medal for taking down 2 enemy SPGs in the game, as well as Radley Walters for getting at least 8 kills. He got the high caliber for dealing the most damage in the game, and that's pretty special in a light tank, as well as a patrol duty for spotting, at least being the only one spotting 6 enemy tanks whilst they were damaged. A scout medal for being the only one to spot 9 enemy vehicles. First spot them, which effectively means he's got a holy trinity out of this game as well, which of course, as you know, is scout, patrol duty, spotter, and an ace. And on top of that, he got a top gun as well for getting at least 6 kills. An epic battle. Let's have a look at team score. Okay, well, the damage he did was 4,142. The nearest player to him was the 122 TM on the enemy team with 2,521, followed by that Lancer C, 2,340. The highest number of kills was Mr. Lamb with 8. So, yes, he did carry the stupids, as Klaus would say, by taking all of the enemy tanks out at the end and doing more damage, more kills than all of his teammates combined. The second highest was the 122 TM. The third highest, well, joint second, I should say, is the Lancer C, also had 4 kills. And when it came to base XP, 2,043, a very high base on that one. He excelled in this game. The next highest being the E25 on his own team, who got 816, followed by the 122 TM on the enemy team with 780. He put up a good game, but we really didn't see him during the game. I think he got wiped out before Mr. Land ever came across him. He fired 47 rounds of ammunition, the maximum ammunition you carry in this vehicle. He used up every round, but he killed all the enemy in the process. 31 direct hits on the enemy, 27 penetrations. Well, it did help that he was carrying a lot of premium ammo. 4,142 hit points of damage, of which 2,196 were done at more than 300 meters. So he was doing a lot of long-range damage, and in a tank that actually does have a fairly slow shell velocity, that's pretty difficult because you have to lead your shots on the enemy in order to get the shell to hit the target properly. 6 hits received from the enemy, 5 of them penetrated, 1 non-penetration, and 1 hit by way of splash damage. I did say during the game that this thing has virtually no armor whatsoever, so if it does get hit, it penetrates. 4 of the shots that actually penetrated him came from that AMX 1375, and the last one came from the Lancer C right at the end of the game. And yes, that could have put him out of the game if he'd been unlucky, but he was lucky and it worked. He spotted 10 enemy vehicles, so he only needed 9 for the scout medal, but he got 10 instead. 11 enemy vehicles were damaged, 8 were killed, 1,560 hit points of damage assistance. I think that's spotting assist, and that's why he got the spotter medal. On a premium account, he earned 80,354 credits from the game, 60,266 from personal reserves, 180,797 altogether. After repair, ammunition resupply, and consumables, he actually made a loss of 11,502, and that's mainly down to the fact that he was carrying premium ammo, the heat rounds, instead. Of course, you want to get that pen, and the easiest way to do that is to use the heat rounds. He wasn't out to try and, I think he's not actually trying to market, or wasn't trying to market at the time, but he may be trying to market now. But that's a good reason for carrying all premium ammo, but boy, did it work in this game. 2,043 base, 613 for this being a premium vehicle, took away 3,678 experience points altogether. Let's have a quick look at the armor profile for the Type 62. You can see that in many ways, design profile wise, it looks very much like a T-54 or a Type 59 for that matter. You can see from the front of the vehicle the strong armor around the turret, really, but that's about all you've got. The rest of the vehicle is very weak. You can see here on the upper plate. So I'm trying to think through. 35 millimeters impacted armor, but only coming out 43. Lower plate 30 millimeters, coming out at 42, 43. It's very weak from the front. The best armor you've got 45 millimeters at the front of the turret, and of course because it's nicely rounded or cast turret, you can see that it actually improves as it goes further around and makes it more chance that the shell's going to bounce off. Pretty good armor actually on the cupolas as well, for that matter. Excuse me. If you look sideways, 20 millimeters at the side, so don't even bother to try and poke out or side scrape in this thing, because it's not going to work. They've made this tank as light as they can to make it go fast, and of course to make sure that it can go over those bridges in southern China. This tank was, by the way, used in 2 wars. It was used in the Vietnam War against the Americans, because they were given to the North Vietnamese army. But it was also used in the war by Vietnam against Cambodia, or Cambodia as it's now known. I think it's known as Cambodia. I think Cambodia was the name that was given to it by the murderers, the massacres of Pol Pot and his regime. But yes, they were used by the Vietnamese when they invaded Cambodia. And it's also, as I said, still in use in some third world countries as a light tank, because it's so much easier to repair. So it's less wearing, because of course it's less weight, and of course it's a fairly easy design to repair. Anyway, let's have a quick look at the live model. You can see, yeah, just about anywhere you hit on this vehicle is going to pen straight off. Okay, let's have a look at the modules. Okay. Now, you can see the reason why it suffers from fuel leaks and it can get hit in the fuel tank. The fuel tank is sitting right up front next to the driver, who's on the right-hand side, and right behind the fuel tank is a massive ammo rack. It's also got 2 ammo racks directly along the sides of the vehicle near the auto-aim point. So if you auto-aim onto one of these, there's a fairly good chance you might actually hit an ammo rack as well. And of course, remember, the armor's so thin that the shells will go straight through. It's got a 4 crew, which is the gunner on the right-hand side, tank commander sitting directly behind him. He's got the cupola with the viewports. The loader is on the other side, on the left-hand side of the turret as we're looking at it, and you can see that it's got a ready rack, which is around him. Again, if you hit the side of the turret and the shell goes through, it's going to hit an ammo rack, and another good chance you might pop the top on this one. Engine is at the back with the transmission directly behind it. There's no fuel tank sandwiching this one, but again, the fuel tank, it's got another fuel tank directly behind the engine, as you can see. So 2 fuel tanks that you can hit. Either hit the front or you hit the one in the rear. But I think you're much more likely to suffer a fuel leak if you get hit in the front of this vehicle, mainly because that fuel tank is basically almost the whole front of the vehicle. But better that you get a fuel leak than you get an ammo rack out of it. But that's where all the modules are on the Type 62. So a really epic game by Mr. Lan. It's not the only game we've got from him, actually. I've got a few more replays for Mr. Lan, which are going to come and put up on the channel in the next couple of days. But an absolutely spectacular one. Look at the results on that. And of course, very cheeky to take that Faden's medal at the end. He must have realized, oh, look, I've got a very small number of heat rounds left. Why don't I just blast them into the ground and then use that last round? And he just drove up in front of him and carefully put the round right through a weak spot to take the game. Very well played indeed, Mr. Lan. I hope you enjoyed the replay. If you did, please give the video a like. Do subscribe to our channel. Leave a little comment down below because it feeds the algorithm. And thank you for watching.